Hey gang, got a quick service to do on the Scag and we'll get back on the quick way loader. I'm going to lift her up, pop the blades off, sharpen and balance the blades, and then we're going to get the grease gun out and grease everything. We'll come back here, we'll clean the radiator out, we'll vacuum it, and we'll take that screen off and just vacuum everything out with the big Black & Decker sweeper over there. I already checked the air filter and it is amazingly clean. So no need. It's got a fibrous pre-filter and then a paper filter around that. It's a two-stage filter. Very, very nice system. I'll show it to you guys. Got our oil filter here. Got our oil ready. Got our oil drain plug right there, and our oil filter right there. The fuel filter looks okay. Again, we're at 500 and I think it's 75 or 85 hours. One of the two. Let's take a quick look again. We'll just leave that seat up so we can check the hydros. Where are we at? Well, I found it easy. It's right there. 586 hours now. 586. But lots of areas of interest just to check, make sure we don't have any hoses leaking. We'll check the condition of the battery. It'll be after charge, so just let it sit out there and warm up real good so that I can get as much of the oil out of that as possible. It wants to creep backward just barely as soon as you take the brake off, so I'm gonna look and see what adjustments need to be made in that regard. And I also need to check and see if there is an easy way to, in case the lift doesn't lift this monstrosity, not saying that in a bad way, it's just huge, then we'll need to drop the deck off. But I want to get up under there and see what we have to do as far as servicing the spindles. If we can grease them or not, we should be able to, I would think. But we've got grease zerks literally all over the place here. Right here on a deck hanger, on the rear deck hanger on both sides. We've got here, which does not have a grease zerk, so we'll have to pop those out through a grease zerks in. Should also have grease zerks on these somewhere. Nope, just a little hole. Yep, there's a grease zerk right. You guys are supposed to be watching. Pay attention. Hang on just a second. Let me fix you guys a little bit. The camera seems to be drifting down. I don't know how much of what you saw. All right, another grease zerk right there on both those wheels. Grease zerks everywhere. So let's go ahead and we're also going to check and clean the plugs if necessary. But let's get started. What do you say? Alright, we got the oil change. Now we got to change the oil filter. And every time I do an oil change, I take a paint marker just so that it's crystal clear. And I write the date on there. And then I'll write the hours, which is 586. I'll write that down there too. That way there's no doubt in anyone's mind when it was serviced and when it will be due for its new service. So I've got a little plastic tray here. I've got my oil catch down here as well. Oil is pretty dirty, so it's probably been a while since it was changed. But I'm going to pop the oil filter off and stick the new one on. Fill her up with oil. Then we're going to come along and replace the fuel filter. Let me make sure I've got a high flow. Yeah, I've got a high flow. So we're in good shape there. We'll get that filter replaced. And like I said, the air filter is in really good shape. It's just got the tiniest little bit of grass on the pre-filter, or not the pre-filter, but the paper filter. Here's the paper filter. You can see just how white that is. Really, really clean. We've just got the tiniest little bit of grass right here. So I'll grab the vacuum and vacuum that out so that that is clear of any obstructions again. And then we're going to commence to greasing. After we grease, we'll raise it up, pop the blades off and sharpen the blades. We still have the spark plugs to pull and check and gap, but we're moving along. See you in a minute. Alright, air filter's clean, oil filter's changed, hours are written on it. Getting ready to add the oil sitting over there. I just changed the fuel filter, and now we have the plugs out, and both plugs look really good. Don't need to do anything except stick them back in the holes. 586 hours. It's child's play. These are NGKs. These are probably the originals, and so we're going to move on now to, I don't even remember the order that I said in the video, but I believe it's greasing everything. So let's get to greasing. Alright, it's battery check time. We got 320 cold cranking amps. We're going to call it after charge and in vehicle. Regular flooded, cold cranking amps, 370. It is 340. And test it. Not bad. Not sure of the age of the battery, but that's not bad. I'll spray a little bit of acid detector and neutralizer on there. We'll be done with the battery. Right there it is, for anybody who's asked in the past and may ask in the future. A little bit of shake. Comes out yellow. When it contacts acid, it turns pink. You can see the pink color coming out there, just neutralizing the acid. Just leave it on there. Alright. On to the next task. Alright, we're going to do the greasing of the unit now. So I've got the 7mm metric on there to pull that zerk cap off, and we'll see if it's threaded, or if it is knock-in, because there are two types, and it is definitely threaded. All right, and it is packed with grease. There's a little bit of grease on the end of that right there, so we'll set that there. And you do have two types. You have the press-in, which just has ribs on it, so that once it goes in, it's hard for it to pull back out. That tap it in, okay? Then you have the threaded type. This one is the threaded type. So get that started, and then we'll come in and cinch it down so we can actually grease these. Oops. Get in there. Play nice. Let's see what size is that. 5/16. I'm going to grab a 5/16 wrench instead of the socket, so I can keep pressure on it. Get it go in there. And we use the blue Craftsman limited edition. Almost bottomed out. Almost there. I just don't like seeing grease zerk caps. Just put a grease zerk in it. I mean, it's obviously there for a reason. There's grease in there, and you've got bearings. You know, even if they're sealed bearings, the shaft between can rust. But if there's grease in there, you won't have that issue. So I'm going to get the other side done over there, and then we'll go through and hit all the grease points. Alright, for the moment, I've got the front end greased, okay? Grease zerks I just put in, grease zerk on the wheel, same thing there and there. And then we have pivot points here that need grease. There's one right there for the deck. And then on the opposite side, again, for the deck arm, let the deck up and down. Grease right there. Same thing here, greased and greased. Come back here. We've got grease here for the parking brake. Got that greased. And then down here for the back hanger on the deck, greased. Come back over to this side. And same thing back here, the back hanger for the deck, right there, greased. So now, excuse me, the instructions for correcting creep on this are right underneath the seat pan right here. And I'll just give you the short abridged version. It says, start the machine with the person in the seat, take the parking brake off, and then adjust these turnbuckles. Okay, clockwise. If it's rolling forward, you turn it clockwise to correct it, and counterclockwise to correct it if it's creeping in reverse on both sides. So here's the interesting thing about it though. With the seat down and a person in that seat, you can't get to it. Well, are we supposed to think of everything? We're telling you how to turn them. You figure out how to turn them with somebody sitting down. So, anyway, all I'm going to do is just set a weight right there so that the seat switch is disengaged so that this thing thinks that there's somebody sitting in the seat. And then we'll make those adjustments. You see there's a little flat spot on each of these. And that's so that you can loosen the jam nuts right here and right here. And then just take a wrench and turn those. Very simple procedure, but you can mimic my solution to a person having to sit in a seat and you not being able to get to it. But just put a weight on the switch so that the machine thinks there's somebody sitting there, and then you can make those adjustments. So no need for me to do that on camera. Next, we're going to lift it up, get the blades off, get them sharpened, get them balanced, get them reinstalled. Also check the condition underneath the deck, make sure that it's in pretty good shape. If it's got a bunch of broccoli, we'll scoot it outside over there close to the wood pile and get all the broccoli out from underneath of it, and then I can give Scott a holler and he can come pick it up. And it's just now 9 a.m. I typically don't get out to the shop until between 11 and noon, so working on the quick way, I still have a whole rest of the day, what my usual day is, to get a real good head start on the quick way. And hopefully we can just about finish the quick way ultimately. It's going to take a lot of fabrication, but we'll get it. We'll get that loader on the new Sovereign, then we'll take care of the few little other incidentals that I've got on my list for Sean, and we'll be done. So I will come back with the roundup on the Scag with the 61-inch deck. And I can't just do 60, it's got to be 61. I need to go buy a lottery ticket. One of the craziest things just happened and kept me from doing anything for 20 minutes except looking for the silly nut for the arbor bolt for the blade, because it goes into the spindle just like that. It goes up and then the nut goes right on there. Well, I had the, oh good lord, I know I've got a lot of people that complain about the phone ringing and phone dinging and going off and all that, but please don't gripe about it. If it wasn't for that phone ringing and the text going off, I wouldn't have content to bring you, okay? So that's the payoff. So anyway, the nut for this, which would just tightens right onto the top of the spindle there, right? Fell down here, rolled down, and then I didn't hear it. So it must have hit the tire and I didn't hear it hit the ground at all, nothing. So I'm looking, and then I pick up my impact wrench, and that's where that nut wound up. What are the chances? That's like go buy a lottery ticket thing. That's a 1 in a billion that nut would fall down, bounce off the tire, and find its way into that. That's just crazy. All right, so we've got the blades. We're going to get them cleaned up and sharpened up. Make sure they're straight. I did see one that was bent, so we're going to have to straighten one. And we've got some broccoli to go ahead and scrape. And I think I'm just going to scrape it in here, and then I'll just sweep it up afterward. But we've got pretty good chunks of broccoli under here to get rid of. Then we'll be ready to throw all this back together, and that'll just about wrap up the Scag. So see you guys. If I run into a bent blade, I'll kick the camera back on for you guys, show you what I do to straighten them. So hang on. All right, checking the blades for weight and also for how straight they are. This one's plenty straight. It's heavy on that end. Haven't gotten to that one yet. Just put that one on, and let me show you guys here. You push the balancer all the way back, and then you set the end of that rod right even with it. If you guys can see there. And then we come around, bring the other end in, and we see where it's at. Whoop! So we do have a bent blade that we need to straighten. I'll check the other blade here real quick. And that also happens to be the heavy end. So there's our bent blade right there. Sorry, I don't know what you guys were looking at. Okay. And we'll check this one. Let me set you guys right here, and I'll just show you the process as I'm doing it. Not the best view, but you get the idea. You put the bottom side of the blade, which is the side that's toward the ground, onto the cone, keeping the magnets back, and then you pull the magnets to the blade. That way the blade is centered on the cone, and now it's ready to check. So we'll come down and move that needle in. We're good there. Come around to the other side again, making sure that it's all the way back, and we're good, not bent. And we pull it out a little bit so there's no drag on the bearing, and then we see which side goes down. You can see it is this side right here. That is the heavy side. So X marks the spot. Now we're going to straighten that bent blade, and it's not near as difficult or as high-tech as you might think that it would be. Okay, let me set it down and see right where the bend. Oh, that's the wrong one. It's right here. Let me show you how I check to see where it's bent. Okay, I just set it down on the surface and see what's hitting. It's the bitter end out here is hitting, so that's what needs to be straightened up. So we're just going to pop it in the vise, and we can see the bend. I don't know if the camera's going to allow it, but we can see the bend. The bend is right here, and we can also see a mark on the blade where whatever it hit caused it to bend. So we need to bend it right there. I'm not going to heat it up. We're just going to put it in there right about where that bend is at, and just grab the other end of the blade. I don't know if you guys have enough of a viewpoint or not. Let's see. Let's get it up there. And just grab the other end of the blade and brace yourself and just lean back on it a little bit. Give it a few bounces. You can kind of eyeball it. I know I haven't gotten it straight yet, but that's how I do it. If it gets to the point where I can't get it straight without heat, I won't put a lot of heat on it because I don't want to draw the temper out of the blade. I'll put just enough on it so that I can pull it back, and then I will quench it in my used oil bucket just to make sure that it's a nice, slow, controlled cool down, and it will help temper it. So I'll get them sharpened back on. Alright, got the blades balanced, and oftentimes I will come across where one side is way lighter than the other, and what I do in that case is, here's our heavy side and it's our new edge. I take it off the back until this side is lighter, then I can take my passes over here where a good bit of it was ground down enough to really throw the balance off. But now they're all balanced, they're all straightened out, they're ready to go back on. Alright, real quick in summary, we cleaned the radiator out. I even went in and I picked in the cooling fins where it had clogged up. We inspected the air filter, knocked the loose grass that was on it off, cleaned the screen, the pickup screen, changed the fuel filter, changed the oil filter, changed the oil. And you don't check these by screwing them all the way in. You check them from that position right there, just with the lid sitting right there. So got that filled. Check the spark plugs. Spark plugs are great. They were gapped fine. Check the hydro oil. Hydro oil's in good shape and it's at the correct level. So you see the mark. So we're good there. I smelled the gas in this tank because this tank hasn't been being used and it smells just fine. We'll switch over to this gas tank when I do a little bit of a test run. Got the broccoli out from underneath the deck, got the blade sharpened, straightened the one blade, went through and hit all the grease zerks, got all that taken care of. The one remaining thing that we have beyond the intermittent no start, which I know what it is, and I'll show you guys here in just a second. Sorry, I stammered there. The intermittent no start is from a safety switch, and it's not actually a safety switch that caused the problem. Then we also have to get it to where it sits still when you take the brake off. So I'm going to do that. But first let me show you why the safety switch, what safety switch and why. Okay. Let me get the seat up out of the way. It is the seat safety switch that's causing the problem. Now, where's the paint wore off? And in what shape is that worn off paint? Well, let's look at the seat. Same thing. See that? And that, this cable, when you pull the seat back, wants to bow and lay right down between here and here, which is holding it up just enough at times that that seat switch isn't working. So all I'm going to do is unbolt this. I'm going to flip it over since it's already trained to collapse in that direction. When I flip that cable over, it's going to want to go down like that. So let me get that flopped over and let's see if that cures that problem. Or instead of using a heavy weight, you can just use a magnet. That's holding it down. Let's get her started here. A little bit of throttle. It's going to be noisy, but before I do that, I'll show you. I've got these jam nuts loosened up. Remember, one's left-hand thread, so it's lefty-tighty instead of lefty-loosey, okay? And you can tell us by looking at the threads, they just look funny. So, standard, left hand, standard, left hand. And then you'll turn this clockwise for forward motion control and counterclockwise for reverse motion control till you get it zeroed. Let's start it. Like I say, it's going to be noisy, so you guys just going to have to sit and watch I'm going to take the brake off and it's going to start moving. It's just going to start creeping. So I need to adjust that out so that it won't. Because when this is in its neutral spot right here, it doesn't move at all. So you can find and tune the neutral spot using those two rods right there. Let's go. Let me get you clamped down so I'm not having to hold on to you. Alright, here we go. Sorry about the noise. Turn your volume down. Warning you ahead of time. You couldn't see it because you guys are looking here, but you might have seen that wheel move just a hair, and then it stopped moving. This side's adjusted okay. This side over here, the whole thing was just doing this. It was turning in the shop. So we've got that squared away. You just loosen your, or tighten your jam nuts back down, and you're done with that part of it. So the only other thing that we had to do was the cable. And I'll show you here that it now closes and the cable does not lay here. That's what was causing the seat switch to not work sometimes. See how it's pointing down? Going down, going down, going down, going down. See it? There we go. Got that taken care of. I'll cinch those lock nuts down on the control arms. I'm going to take it out, blow off the grass that's up here, give it a little test, and then give Scott a call, tell him he can come pick it up. Thanks you guys very, very much for hanging out, and I promise you, I will see you when I see you. Later. I'm out of here.